There's a reason why people say the golden middle. So we've got just two more questions. Hi, Matt. I was wondering if twang is based on narrowing the epilaryngeal tube and is helping by pulling the tongue back. Why does it sound twangy with the tongue out, or is this not correct? Also a very interesting question.
Yeah. So I think there's a lot of individual variations in this. I mean, your tongue, my friend Marcy Rosenberg, she co-wrote a book called The Vocal Athlete, an excellent book for your bookshelf. But Marcy, when we're teaching the tongue, she brings in a water balloon. And she shows the water balloon and says, I want you to look at this water balloon. I can squish it, making it flatter. But the balloon shifts in different directions. It's shifted outwards. Now I can compress it front to back. I've narrowed it this way, but it bulged up and it bulged down. Your tongue is the exact same thing. We can get that tongue to move out. We're shifting the mass of it, but the mass did not change. We relocated it. Then I can put your tongue back in your mouth. Yeah, it should probably work with that too. Yeah, right? But we relocate the mass. So, if you see a singer that has, I'll tell my students sometimes to stick out there. I have balloons around too. They're fun. Good for teaching lots of things. But if you have a singer that when you say stick your tongue out and they can touch the bottom of their chin or the tip of their nose, their tongue might really be getting in the back of their throat when they sing because that mass is going so far back. Versus if you have somebody you say stick your tongue out and they go, then you're probably not dealing with a bunch in the back, right?
Yeah.
And you can look in their mouth with a flashlight and be like, yeah, there ain't much in there, right? We're all different, and we just got to honor the individuality of our bodies. So yes, that AES is narrowing. I have great respect for everybody. We're all going to have slight disagreements on some stuff. There is a body of voice teachers of a certain method who talk about they can feel themselves making that AES thing narrow. I'm iffy on that. I don't disagree that they can do that. I think that they can. I'm always a little bit iffy about forcing the constrictor to narrow something. Now, to be fair, I just told you how to do it to make vocal distortion. So let's put that out on the table, right? So, there is times to do that. But what I tend to think with the more MRIs I look at and everything else is that, yes, there is some tongue narrowing and things, but I think or tongue retraction and AES narrowing, but I think a lot of it has to do with the rise of the larynx. That as that larynx rises, sometimes the tongue flexes back a little bit, and that combination of that stuff narrows that little space in a little bit. So what I try to do is tend to allow it to happen from freedom and a place of making sound that happens to allow that to occur rather than pushing it back. Mm-hmm. Now, why would you hear a twangy sound when the tongue is out? Because when the tongue is out, it drags the larynx up. And anytime we drag the larynx up, we shorten the vocal tract. And anytime we shorten the vocal tract, we're going to end up making the sound brighter. So we're essentially getting the brightness from shortening it by pulling the larynx up. And when our tongue is in the mouth, we're brightening it by shortening and narrowing the space in the back. Anytime we narrow or shorten, we get more brightness. Yeah. So that's why both of those can give us a twangy sound. And just to me, we want to make sure that however we do it, we're doing it in a way that you're in control, it feels good to you, and that people like the resulting sound.
Yeah, thank you for that. It's again, I'd say augment this discussion by getting access to our premium membership and looking at the live stream with Carrie Obert. And just as Matt also talked about in the live stream today, as the larynx is going to come up and tilt, right, as part of that. And the epiglottis, in the twang, what we usually consider twang in the epilaryngeal tube is what this question is about, is that the narrowing where the epiglottis approaches the arytenoids, right? That's the epilarynx. So right in there, that's what, if we isolate and say that is twang and that function makes this sound, then we're getting really specific. And the fact is, if your tongue's back and you're rising and tilting your larynx, there's no, it's getting smashed kind of in there. So if the back of the tongue goes up, and like Matt just said, the back of the tongue can go up and the base of the tongue can go back. It's like this balloon. It can morph in all these shapes. So getting the back of the tongue up and out of the way really, and like I said, higher larynx position, that allows for that narrowing to happen. Because if the larynx is too low, and especially if the tongue, the whole mass of the tongue, we're pushing down on it, it's going to be impossible to create that narrowing, muscularly impossible. Um, but and then the good part of the other question is, why does it sound twangy with the tongue out? Ah, it's because the larynx is coming up, right? And that's a twangy sound. Now, let's not. I'm going to get off on a tangent. Let's just move on to the next question.
But these are good conversations to have because again, it's like I said. I mean, I've seen some teachers teach the other way that I said that I don't really know that I'm on fully on board with and have success. And so this is why I think that your program is great, is because we're just having these honest conversations and seeking truth. I mean, we're all, especially you and I, as we're having this, it's clear we're both trying to seek what helps the individual singer in front of us. And I would never tell a singer who's getting good results not to do the thing unless it hurts,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so, I mean, I think that that's it's great that you're having other guests on to talk about those things, and just play and find what
Yeah.
works for you.
I can tell you one trick that I recommend is using the English words man and men, because the a and the e are great twang vowels. Now, watch and listen if you can hear the difference. If I say I'm going to do one that I consider squeezing and not twang, ma ma. Now listen to the twang. Ma. They can sound very similar, but one is shutting everything down, and one is just the moving, the narrowing of the epilaryngeal inlet. I can't feel it narrowing, but I can feel with the squeezing, the pressure, and with the dynamic, relaxed movement, I can feel the change, the acoustical change, and I don't know, it's just a different awareness. I feel more relaxation, and I really work with singers on that, because a lot of singers get confused and they narrow and squeeze to create the sound because they're mimicking the sound of twang, but that is not the sound itself. If you're on that side of the squeezing side, it's not twang, and it's not going to help you. It's going to shut you down. Yeah.
Yep, absolutely.